Hello, I hope you found my videos looking at exam questions helpful, and I would like to wish you every success in your upcoming exams. Hopefully you're watching this video because you genuinely want to do well with your exams, in which case I'm going to go through as many of the reasons as I can think of why people fail to get the grades they believe they deserve. First of all, I should point out that sometimes with the best preparation and experience, people do fail. Sometimes this failure is not their fault and genuinely down to circumstances beyond their control. If your failure wasn't your fault, then by definition there is nothing you can do about it, and dwelling on how things could go wrong when it's not your fault is counterproductive and ultimately will distract you from doing things about the things that are within your control. Far more often than not, though, failure to get the marks you believe you deserve is purely down to things that are in your control, and these videos are going to focus on things you can do to get those marks you've worked so hard for all these years. Reason one is lack of revision. The reason this is number one is because this is the primary reason most people fail their exams, which is why I'm dealing with it first. I'm going to run through a list of reasons, excuses, whatever we're going to call it, what we tell ourselves that are deadly to exam success, and in fact these excuses are deadly to success in general. I'm going to revise later. I'm way too busy to think about revision right now. What's the point? I already know the subject matter, or closely related to that. Teacher said I'll get a good grade, so I'm set. Why bother? I'll only forget it again, so I shouldn't revise until the last minute. Do you know, I struggle with that one sometimes myself. It's quite a big one for me. It's boring. I want to do something more interesting. Besides, exams aren't for ages yet. I'm never going to need this stuff in my life, so what's the point? Again, this one gets me. It's too hard. I have to be in the right frame of mind or it'll never stick in. And lastly, I can't concentrate right now. Too many distractions. And if you can think of any excuses or reasons that are stopping you revising, feel free to pop those in the comments if they're not listed in that list. Maybe other people can read those comments and put what helps them overcome those excuses. Or if you've overcome those excuses in your life, you can put what helps you to overcome them. These excuses can be grouped under three main headings: procrastination, time management, and understanding the learning process. And we're going to take them one heading at a time. Procrastination. The word means to put off till a later time something you can be doing right now. It's something that doesn't necessarily mean being lazy or watching telly or watching YouTube videos when you should be working. You can be working very hard, but you're working very hard at something that's not the job that you should be doing right now, and that is procrastination. The excuses that come under the heading procrastination, I'm going to revise in a bit. Okay, a bit of an obvious one, that one. It's boring. I want to do something more interesting. It's too hard. I need to be in the right frame of mind or it won't stick in. Even the most successful people procrastinate. However, successful people are aware of their natural tendency to procrastinate, and they've adopted various coping techniques to help overcome their natural desire to procrastinate. And in these videos, we're going to look at some of those techniques. If you've ever tried to help someone push a car or drag a heavy suitcase, then you know it's always harder to get something up to speed than it is to maintain a constant speed. Physicists call this phenomena inertia. Psychologically, we have the same problem. Whenever a job needs doing, it's always harder to get started on the job than it is to keep going. We can turn this psychological inertia to our advantage, however, once we convince ourselves that once we do get started, it will be a lot easier to continue. Here are a few tips that can help with overcoming the initial barrier to getting started with revision, although they can be used to help with any task that we keep putting off. The sports clothes manufacturer Nike has a brilliant phrase that has gotten me off my backside more times than I can count. I simply mentally shout the command, "Just do it!" More often than not it works. If that doesn't work, I bark an order to myself, internally, not out loud. Do it and it's done. No need for long-winded speeches or complex arguments. Thinking about doing a job or thinking about doing your revision won't get the revision done. This is true of exercising, dieting, getting dressed, having a bath, tidying your room, or any other thing you've been supposed to be doing. Most of the time, the simple trick is, don't think about it, just do it. Eventually, though, the laziest side of our nature kicks in and we become immune to these tactics, but don't worry, if that method doesn't work, there are others. One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves to prevent us from getting done a task that needs to be done is to overestimate how hard or painful the task will be. Too hard, don't try, is what our brain tells us. When we get into this mindset and start feeling afraid of how much the revision is going to hurt or how much other more pleasant things we could be doing instead of revision, then the trick is to simplify the task, break it down into a series of easier jobs. The question, how do you eat an elephant, has the simple answer, one bite at a time. The key is not to look at the overwhelming amount of revision that needs to be done, but to simply choose to look at a single question. You don't even need to tell yourself you're going to answer the question, just read it. However, once you start reading the question, the human brain, which naturally hates unanswered questions, will start thinking about the question in the background, and you may even feel motivated to start trying to answer the question. The point is, though, to not think about the whole task, but to tell yourself you'll just do a tiny bit of the task. When you've started, it's easier to say to yourself, well, I've got this far, I might as well carry on. Now that psychological inertia is working in your favour. There is a craze going around YouTube at the moment espousing the benefits of the Pomodoro Technique. Maybe you've heard of it. The word comes from the Italian for tomato. It was invented by a guy named Francesco Cirillo in the late 1980s, who used a tomato-shaped kitchen timer to time 25-minute intervals, and he made himself work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. It's touted as the magic cure-all for procrastination, though I believe it's really just a variation on that how to eat an elephant meme, where a tough job is broken down into lots of little manageable bite-sized pieces, only instead of breaking it down into logical chunks, it's broken down into time chunks. In the Pomodoro Technique, the large and intimidating task is broken down into 25 minutes work with 5 minutes break. During that 5 minutes, you can do any unrelated task or just rest. You actually use a timer of some kind to time the 25 minutes and 5 minutes. Then do another 25 minutes work and another 5 minutes rest. Repeat the 25 minutes work, 5 minutes rest cycle 4 times. That's 2 hours, totaling 100 minutes work and 20 minutes rest. After which you give yourself half an hour break. After that half an hour, you go back to do the 25 minutes work, 5 minutes rest regime for as long as you need to or want to. Try it and see if it works for you. And if not, why not adapt it by changing the rhythm from 25 minutes, 5 minutes to some other rhythm that actually suits you. Bear in mind, any amount of revision is still better than no revision at all. Now, I've left this advice until last because I don't personally feel comfortable with it. Even though it's widely used and many people swear by it, I must concede this good doggy or Polly want a cracker approach is a very powerful motivation technique. Promising yourself a reward after you've successfully completed a task is so very popular precisely because it works. I personally don't recommend it, however, because I think it's dangerous. However, once you're aware of the dangers, if you still feel the technique will work for you and you're convinced that the risks are acceptable, then who am I to stand in your way? So why am I so personally uncomfortable with this, or why am I so uncomfortable recommending this technique to others? Well, the reason is because there's a danger to spend so much time thinking about and looking forward to the reward that it distracts you from the work that you're supposed to be doing. And then when it comes time for the reward, there is a danger of spending too much time rewarding yourself. Ultimately, instead of a small reward helping you get a huge task done, a massive reward is enjoyed for any lame excuse. At best, there's a danger of overstaying your reward, and at worst, there's a danger of developing an unhealthy mental relationship with the reward. Not only are you reinforcing positive feelings towards whatever you've chosen as your reward, but you're also reinforcing negative feelings towards the work that you're trying to get done. This can lead to more than just negative feelings, but sometimes physical discomfort while trying to revise. And you don't want to be feeling positively sick about facing the exam questions when it comes time to demonstrate all that hard work that you've already put in. Saying to yourself, I'll treat myself when I finish this task, is an unhealthy mindset in my opinion. A different way of phrasing it, I can treat myself whenever I want, but right now I want to finish this task, in my opinion, is a much better way of looking at it. It leads to an overall more positive mindset, and it allows you to enjoy the process of learning. The danger of allowing a negative psychological reinforcement is that even if you do pass your exam, you might come to hate the subject so much that you no longer wish to follow the career path that you've worked so hard for. Yes, the technique is powerful. Yes, it works, but be aware of the dangers of promising yourself a reward for achieving something. Soon you resist doing anything unless you promise yourself a reward. Achieving something great should be its own reward. If you want to promise yourself a reward, just imagine how good it's going to feel having finished the task. No need for anything else. Well, that's about all we've got time for at the moment. However you motivate yourself to revise, the key to exam success is start revising early. The earlier the better. Ideally now! If you're watching this video in January feeling that June is a long way off, keep in mind June will come faster than you think. The key to taking the sting out of revision is to start early and revise little and often. You don't need to do hours of revision in a single sitting. In fact, it's not advisable to do so. A few minutes revision here and there will do a lot better than waiting the whole year and then trying to cram the night before the exam. In the next video, I'll address the issues of being too busy to do revision. Good luck with your exams, and I'll see you in the next video.